Welcome back to this podcast, Moji Talent Podcast. We are so thrilled you've returned to join us for another session of, well, getting truly well-informed, skipping the noise, and really just extracting the most important nuggets of knowledge from the sources you've shared with us.
Today, we are taking on a really crucial topic for anyone who is serious about moving beyond basic English and into, true fluency. Specifically, we're analyzing the foundational concepts covered in episode 4 of the Learning English with Moji Talent YouTube channel and their podcast.
Absolutely. And the source material today, it really zeroes in on two areas that I think are so often missed in traditional language classes, yet they're absolutely critical for sounding natural. We're talking about the inherent musicality of the language sentence rhythm, and this is a big one, the practical high-speed usage and often reduced pronunciation of those tiny, tricky words we call articles.
And our mission today is to really unpack these insights, focusing on why mastering English rhythm isn't some advanced concept. Yeah. It's the absolute shortest and most direct path to sounding natural, confident, and genuinely fluent.
Right.
If you currently feel like you know all the rules, but you still sound a bit hesitant or even robotic when you speak, it's probably because you are fighting the rhythm. We're going to show you how to stop fighting and, well, start flowing.
And before we unpack all this fascinating material, we have to take a moment and just acknowledge the excellent resource providing these tips. If you are on your language learning journey, please, you have to subscribe to the Learning English with Moji Talent channel or follow the Moji Talent English podcast.
Oh, definitely.
Turn on those notifications. You will not want to miss an update on these essential English learning tips. They are providing the kind of step-by-step guidance that truly transforms comprehension into application.
And it's designed as a progression. In previous sessions, we looked at the groundwork. Things like the pervasive schwa sound, understanding how consonant sounds work in fast speech.
And that critical importance of word stress, the difference between a record and to record.
Exactly, the action versus the thing.
And that leads us perfectly into today's focus. We established that English is a highly efficient, almost lazy language that loves to cut corners at the word level. Today, we're applying that aggressive efficiency to entire sentences, which I guess necessitates a strong, identifiable rhythm. The moment you grasp this concept, you unlock that smooth, confident, natural flow that makes communication effortless for both you and the listener.
It really is the difference between delivering information haltingly and delivering it masterfully. Rhythm is the engine of fluency. The stage is set. So let's dive into the music of English.
Okay, let's unpack this core concept then, sentence rhythm. The source material does such an excellent job framing this idea, making that immediate connection between language and music.
That analogy is, I think, highly effective because it immediately captures the fundamental reality. English is not merely a sequence of words. It is a system of stresses and unstressed reductions. It has a specific tempo, a pulse, and a melody that dictates how you must pronounce the words within it.
And this is where the major contrast lies for so many learners, right? Especially those whose native language is syllable timed. If you speak a language like Spanish, French, Italian, or even Turkish, you have this deep subconscious habit you have to recognize and then deliberately unlearn.
Exactly. If you come from a syllable-timed language, every syllable, and by extension almost every word, is given roughly equal weight and duration. The speech pace is steady and even like a predictable drumbeat. You allocate the same amount of time to each component.
But English just completely rejects that democratic uniformity.
It does. Completely. English operates on what linguists call stress-timed rhythm. This is the core concept that often separates the near-fluent speaker from the genuinely fluent speaker. In English, we don't care about making every syllable even. We care intensely about hitting the stress points at regular, consistent intervals.
So the rhythm takes precedence.
The rhythm takes precedence over the individual words, yes.
So the imperative is to keep the beat going, even if we have to, utterly crush the surrounding words to meet that tempo.
That is precisely the mechanism. That's a perfect way to put it. The stressed syllables have to occur at roughly equal intervals, almost like a metronome setting a consistent tempo. All the unstressed syllables, the little grammatical words, must be quickly squeezed in between those major beats.
Regardless of how many there are.
Regardless of how many, this efficiency is necessary to maintain the flow.
I found the boom-da-da concept from the source material to be just the most instantly graspable way to explain this.
It is brilliant in its simplicity. Think of the booms as the downbeats. They are the strong, clear, loud, and long sounds. They carry the main informational weight. The dadas are the quick, almost throwaway notes. They are short, quiet, and reduced, often using that schwa sound.
Okay, and here's the part that I found truly fascinating about this stress time system. You can have one da or like 6 dadas between 2 booms, but the time that passes between those booms should remain essentially the same to maintain the rhythm.
Absolutely. I mean, imagine the following 2 phrases. The man is here, and the young and handsome man is here.
Okay.
In both cases, the word man carries the stress. It's the boom. In the first sentence, you have 1 syllable between the dot and man. In the second, you have 4 young and handsome. But a fluent speaker will squeeze those 4 syllables into pretty much the same brief duration they used for the 1 syllable of that first phrase.
Wow. So that requirement, that linguistic imperative to maintain the consistent tempo, that is what forces the massive reduction and weakening of all those intermediate words.
It's not a choice.
It's a rhythmic necessity.
It is. If you fail to reduce those dadas, the rhythm just collapses, the speech slows down, and the fluency sounds clumsy.
So the fundamental rule guiding this behavior is based on a kind of word hierarchy.
Yes. To achieve natural, stress-timed rhythm, speakers stress content words because they carry the essential information. We, conversely, dramatically reduce and weaken function words because they provide only the structural framework.
This hierarchy is the blueprint for every single English sentence. You are constantly, maybe subconsciously, prioritizing which words are essential for comprehension and which are just structural filler.
And if a learner only focuses on getting the function words right, they miss the melody.
Right.
They may have perfect grammar, but they don't have the music, which, leads us to the specific identification of these 2 crucial word types.
Okay, so let's dig into that.
Let's start with the stars of the show. Content words. These are the words that are always pronounced clearly, loudly, and with greater duration. They are the booms because they are what you, as a listener, truly need to decode the message.
And we can review the key categories here.
First and foremost, you've got nouns, the names of people, places, or things. These are the anchors of the sentence. Examples like store, milk, car, management, crisis, solution. They anchor the stress.
Okay, and next, main verbs, the action words.
Yes, went, buy, meet, analyze, synthesize, or investigate. Even when they're surrounded by auxiliaries, the main verb takes the stress. Unless the auxiliary is being stressed for emphasis, but that's a special case.
And third, adjectives, which give us all that essential descriptive color.
Exactly. New, interesting, complex, bright, challenging. These descriptors carry significant meaning. And finally, adverbs, which modify the action or the description. Yesterday, rapidly, carefully, incredibly.
So the takeaway seems pretty simple. If the word answers those fundamental generalistic questions, who, what, where, when, why, or how, it's a content word, and it's going to get the boom. It's information dense.
That's the crucial difference. Now let's pivot to the function words, the dadas that have to sacrifice themselves to keep the rhythm fast.
These are the words that are grammatically required, but if you took them out, the core informational concept would usually remain intact. You call them the structural framework. I like to think of them as the linguistic cement.
A good way to put it. And the list is long, and it's the most common words we use. Articles, a, and, the. Prepositions to, at, in, on, of, for. Pronouns I, you, he, she, we, they. Auxiliary verbs.
Or like am, is, are, was.
Was, were, do, does, have, has, will, should, might. And of course, conjunctions like and, but, or.
That ratio is just astonishing when you think about it. The vast majority of the word count in a typical English conversation is made up of words that should be reduced.
Which highlights the immense challenge for learners. The words you see most often are the ones you must learn to, not ignore, but pronounce minimally.
I want to introduce a point of friction here, something learners often wonder about. If I'm an intermediate speaker and I pronounce all those function words clearly, if I say, I went, the see, the store, a native speaker still understands the meaning, right? So why is changing the rhythm so essential for fluency?
That is a critical question. And you're right, you are grammatically intelligible. But fluency isn't just about comprehension. It's about processing speed and, frankly, social acceptance.
Okay.
When you stress function words, you're communicating 2 things unintentionally. First, you're slowing down the listener's processing time because they are listening for content words, and you're confusing the signal by giving unnecessary stress to or the.
Sending the wrong signal.
You are. And second, and maybe more importantly, you are signaling to the listener that you're concentrating on word-for-word translation, which makes the conversation feel a bit aggressive or halting, and ultimately less natural and less efficient. Natural rhythm allows for effortless, high-speed exchange.
Like the difference between a manual and an automatic car.
That's it, exactly.
Yeah.
Both get you there, but one requires constant conscious effort.
That makes perfect sense. The goal is to sound like an automatic transmission. So, let's look at the mechanism of weakening. How do these function words get pronounced so quickly and quietly?
They undergo the process of reduction. And the primary tool of reduction is the schwa sound, that neutral mumbled sound. If a vowel is in an unstressed syllable, the language aggressively simplifies it to the easiest, shortest sound possible, which is the schwa. And this happens extremely fast.
And sometimes the vowel sound just disappears entirely, right? Leaving only a hint of the consonants.
Precisely. Let's explore some specific high-frequency examples. The preposition to reduces to tu, or sometimes just For often reduces to fur, or even The auxiliary are often reduces to a quick
And the auxiliary verbs are particularly prone to this. I mean, learners might spend hours learning verb conjugations only to find the auxiliary verbs are almost unrecognizable in fast speech.
Oh, look at common auxiliary phrases. Could have, would have, should have. Almost never retain the full have sound. They reduce to ooh or just So I should have gone becomes I should have gone, or even I should have gone. The schwa allows for this massive compression.
Which brings us to the famous wanna gonna example. It's the perfect manifestation of this necessity of reduction.
It is. Want to and going to reduce to wanna and gonna because the speaker has to maintain the beat. If the speaker tries to clearly pronounce to, they slow down and they break the rhythmic expectation of the listener. This isn't poor education. It's linguistic efficiency serving the stress time beat.
Let's apply this to the practice sentences from the source material and really identify the booms and the surrounding dadas.
Let's run through them. We'll say the sentence first at a normal pace and then we'll repeat it, highlighting only the rhythmic emphasis.
Okay, example 1. I'm going to the store to buy some milk.
So the information is carried by the noun, store, milk, and the main verbs, going, by. Now listen to the rhythmic pulse. I'm going to the store to buy some milk.
It's amazing. The time between going and store is roughly the same as the time between store and buy. And those tiny function words to some are just crushed down to fit that timing. The speaker doesn't stop, they just transition the airflow very quickly across those reduced syllables.
Right. And if we use the maximum natural reduction the source material described, it sounds much closer to, I'm going to the store to be is milk. That rapid transition across the function words is the sound of effortless fluency.
Okay, example 2. I went to the store yesterday.
The 3 points of stress are the action, the location, and the time. Went, store, yesterday. All 3 are content words.
So the stress is on went store yesterday. I went to the store yesterday. It's incredible that the word yesterday, a 4-syllable adverb, takes up roughly the same chunk of time as the preceding 3-word phrase, I went to the.
That's the power of reduction. The I, to, and the are merely transient sounds that facilitate the connection between the booms.
And the final example, she's working at the office.
2 informational booms. Working, the main verb, and office, the noun. The auxiliary verb is already contracted and the preposition and article are minimized.
Resulting in, she's working at the office. The lesson here is just so clear. Stop trying to make every word sound equally important. You have to learn which words to be lazy with so you can be powerful with the others.
And we really have to dedicate some extra time to articles a, and the, because their reduction is so fundamental and pervasive that it almost constitutes a separate pronunciation rule set.
Right. Articles are the ultimate throwaway words in terms of rhythm. Their primary role is just to signal definiteness or indefiniteness, and they have to be extremely short to maintain the speed of the stress-timed beat.
Let's start with the. As you pointed out, many listeners were taught the full vowel sound the, often in a classroom setting. And this creates significant confusion when listening to native speech.
Why is that textbook the pronunciation so misleading for everyday use?
Well, because the full, clear pronunciation the requires effort and duration, which breaks the quick rhythm. In conversation, we only use the full, strong form of the when the following word begins with a vowel sound.
Like the apple or the office.
Exactly. Or, crucially, for emphasis. You might say, that is the definitive answer, to really stress it.
So the rule they learned in school is often a specific case, reserved for high clarity or emphasis, not the default.
Exactly. For, 95% of usage, when the is followed by a consonant sound, it must reduce to the. Using the schwa sound, duh. It is just a quick tensing sound. The dog, the car, the table.
And as the source noted, speed can reduce it even further, almost losing the vowel entirely.
Oh, absolutely. When you're speaking very quickly, it can reduce to just the, blending seamlessly into the next word. A sentence like, I saw the boy at the shop, might sound like, I saw the boy at the shop, where the schwa is barely audible. And this isn't laziness. It's the rhythm demanding extreme compression.
And this applies just as dramatically to a and an.
Indeed. A reduces almost always to a. A book is a book, short, quick, and weak. Kind of reduces to an apple becomes apple. Again, this happens because the following content word, book, apple, is the one getting the boom. Everything that comes before it has to be shortened to land the stress precisely on time.
So let's hear that natural flow again in context. I saw a dog and a cat at the park.
Listen to the melody. I saw a dog and a cat at the park. You can almost hear that rhythmic engine running, demanding that and the pass by quickly to allow the major syllables to strike the beat.
Right.
If you were to give full equal weight to every single word, the rhythm would slow down to a crawl.
And that leads us right back to the consequence of not reducing, sounding unnatural. We have to train our mouths to make those reductions automatically.
It's the key psychological hurdle. Learners feel that if they don't say every word clearly, they're making a mistake. The reality is that if you do say every function word clearly, you are committing a major rhythmic error. You have to accept that reduction is the sign of true skill and integration into the language system.
Okay, so that's the sound. But the grammar is just as important.
Absolutely. Now let's leverage the comprehensive detail from the source material and transition to the grammatical requirements of articles. Pronouncing a as is great, but using it when you should have used the creates a whole different kind of confusion.
So let's revisit a and an. We know they refer to one nonspecific item.
Correct. They signal indefiniteness. I need a pen means the identity of the pen is irrelevant. Any pen will do. The crucial distinction between a and an rests entirely on the following sound.
The source material was excellent in clarifying this sound rule, focusing on the phonetics, not just the spelling.
Right, we use am before a vowel sound, not necessarily a vowel letter. The textbook examples are easy, an apple, an orange. But we also have an honest person and an hour, because the initial H is silent, meaning the word begins with a vowel sound.
And conversely, we use a before a consonant sound, even if the letter itself is a vowel.
Yes. Think of acronyms. It's an MBA, because the letter M is pronounced M, which starts with the vowel sound.
Yeah.
But it's ABA, because B starts with a consonant sound. Similarly, it's a unique idea or a university, because that U sounds like U, which is a consonant sound J. Focusing on the phonetics is really the ultimate key to getting this right.
That is a complex distinction that really does reward detailed study. Okay, now let's look at the and its function.
So the signal's definiteness. We use it when the item is specific, singular, or plural, and both the speaker and the listener know exactly which entity is being discussed. It's a signal of shared context.
And the sequencing example they used perfectly illustrates this transition from general to specific.
You start general, I bought a car yesterday. The car is new information. It's non-specific. Then you switch to specific. The car is red. Now we share the knowledge of which car.
It's like the linguistic equivalent of pointing. A or an introduces the topic, and the B points back to the already introduced idea.
And we also use the when the item is inherently unique or obvious in context, like the sun, the moon, the sky. There is only one sun, so it is definitively known. We also use the before certain proper nouns, like geographical features, the Pacific Ocean, the Rocky Mountains. This adds some necessary depth beyond just that basic sequencing example.
Okay, finally, let's tackle zero articles, those instances where we omit the article entirely. This is often a huge area of confusion, even for advanced learners.
Zero articles usually happen when we're talking about plural nouns or non-count nouns like water, air, information, in a general abstract sense.
So if I say, I love dogs, I mean the species in general.
Correct. If I say knowledge is power, I'm talking about like abstract non-count noun knowledge generally. If I were being specific, I'd switch. The knowledge I gained from that course was invaluable.
Can you give us a few more of those challenging zero article categories?
Certainly. We typically omit articles when referring to academic subjects. So, she is studying chemistry, not the chemistry. We omit them for certain illnesses in a general sense. You'd say, he has the flu, but she was diagnosed with cancer, not the cancer. And we omit articles with certain modes of transportation, especially with the preposition by. We traveled by train, they came by car, not by the car.
Wow.
Understanding these subtle rules is, I think, a trademark of sophisticated fluency.
Okay, so we've covered the technical how and why of English rhythm and article use. Now we turn to what feels like the most powerful tool for implementing this knowledge automatically, the shadowing technique.
Before we delve into shadowing, I just want to briefly acknowledge the other major component of flow that was mentioned in the source material. Intonation. The musical rise and fall of the voice that conveys emotion and question type.
Right. We noted that yes-no questions generally rise at the end and why questions generally fall.
And while intonation is crucial for meaning and mood, we're reserving the full study of it for later. The reason we focus on rhythm first is fundamental. Rhythm is structural. If your rhythm is off, your speech is difficult to process, regardless of your intonation.
So rhythm is foundational intelligibility.
It is. Intonation adds the interpretive color. You have to master the beat first.
That's a great justification for the focus. So let's get into the practical application. What exactly is shadowing?
Shadowing is mimicking a native speaker simultaneously, trying to be their exact acoustic shadow. You are speaking with them, not repeating after them. You're lagging by mere milliseconds. The moment you hear the sound, you attempt to reproduce it.
Which means the goal is not just word accuracy, but perfectly matching the speaker's entire rhythmic signature. Their stress points, the booms, the reduced sounds, the da-das, their speed, their volume, everything.
Exactly. You're forcing your vocal apparatus to duplicate the fluency pattern without the distraction of thinking about grammar rules.
Right.
It's intense motor practice.
I actually recall a former student who tried this initially and found it intensely frustrating. They kept tripping over the reduced words because they were mentally inserting the full written forms. They said it felt like trying to sing along to a song they only knew how to read on sheet music, but not how to perform live.
That is a perfect description of the initial psychological barrier. You are bypassing the literate, grammar-focused part of your brain and training the motor speech cortex directly. That friction you feel is evidence of the learning process working.
So walk the listener through the step-by-step process so they can incorporate this tool into their routine, maybe starting today.
Let's break down the required steps for effective shadowing this week.
Okay, step 1, the preparation.
Find a short piece of clear native audio, and crucially, it has to be short. 5 to 10 seconds is plenty. A clip from an interview, a natural conversation, or a clear segment of a learning podcast like MagiTalent. Short means it's repeatable and manageable.
And step 2, comprehension and observation.
Listen to that short segment several times until you fully grasp the meaning. But more importantly, listen for the rhythm pattern. Try to identify where the booms are landing, where are they speeding up, where are the schwa sounds happening.
And finally, step 3, active imitation.
This is the hard part. You play the audio again, and you speak along with the speaker. You're trying to perfectly match their pace, their volume, their delivery. You have to allow the reduced forms to slip out without conscious thought. Your focus should be on the tempo, not the spelling of the words.
The real secret sauce here is that you don't actually have time to consciously apply all the rules we just discussed.
That's the mechanism of fluency. You don't have time to pause and ask yourself, is this a function word or a content word? Or does this word start with a vowel sound? The motor action has to become automatic. Shadowing drills the acoustic patterns until your mouth produces them reflexively, just as a child does when they're acquiring language through imitation.
It sounds like we are training speech muscles, much like a pianist trains their fingers to hit complex chords automatically.
Exactly. Fluency is automaticity. If you consistently dedicate even 10 minutes a day to shadowing, you are burning the feel of English rhythm into your neural pathways. You are literally creating a new fluent muscle memory for the language.
And it will feel awkward, it will feel challenging, and you will stumble, but that's the sign of true progress.
You have to embrace that awkwardness. It means you are breaking old habits and forging new, highly efficient ones. Don't worry about perfection. Focus on the rhythm and the flow. That's where the power lies.
Okay, we've built a strong technical foundation on reduction in rhythm. To kind of tie the mental attitude required to master this, the source material introduces 2 highly relevant idioms that perfectly capture the necessary approach. Let's look at the first one, go with the flow.
This idiom is so vital for the learner's mindset. Go with the flow means to accept and adapt to the current situation, staying flexible instead of rigidly resisting natural changes or movements.
And in a linguistic sense, if you are taught to pronounce every single word clearly, but fluent English requires you to reduce and swallow function words. You have to go with the flow of reduction.
If you attempt to maintain the full, clear pronunciation of to or for, you are actively fighting the language's natural requirement to maintain stress timing. Embracing the flow means accepting that short, reduced words are the natural, correct, and most efficient way to speak.
Okay, and what about the second idiom, which speaks more to rhythmic perfection?
In sync. If two things are in sync, they are harmonized, moving together perfectly or happening at the exact same moment. We see dancers who are in sync, or musicians playing a challenging piece together.
And this is where the technical lesson really meets the idioms.
When you are speaking English with accurate stress-timed rhythm, hitting the booms at regular intervals and minimizing the dadas, you are officially in sync with the language's natural pulse. You have successfully learned to go with the flow of reduction, and the result is harmonized, fluent speech that sounds effortless to the native ear.
That's a really profound connection. Let's practice that synchronization one final time. I want you, the listener, to actively shadow along with us as we emphasize the content words.
Listen carefully, everyone. I will say the sentence, emphasizing the beats. Focus entirely on hitting those strong beats and keeping the time consistent.
Okay, first sentence. I'm going to the supermarket to buy some vegetables.
I'm going to the supermarket to buy some vegetables. Note the quick, soft passing of the function words versus the clarity of the content words.
All right, next sentence. She was reading a book in the library.
She was reading a book in the library. The speed of was and in the should be nearly invisible.
Perfect. Last one. We need to finish the report by Friday afternoon.
We need to finish the report by Friday afternoon. Here, even the content word afternoon has a subtle internal rhythm of reduced syllables. But the main stress points fall on the information-carrying words.
That repetition, that training of the ear and the mouth, it is just invaluable.
Consistency over perfection. Remember, the goal is not to be a perfect mimic, but to internalize the pattern until you don't have to think about the rhythm anymore. It just happens automatically.
So, what does this all mean? Let's do a rapid review of the 7 core principles we've synthesized today from the Meiji Talent material.
1. English is fundamentally a stress-timed language. It demands consistent beats, not equal word duration.
2. We must stress content words, your nouns, main verbs, adjectives, and adverbs because they contain all the essential meaning.
3. We dramatically reduce function words, all that grammatical glue to fit them between the stressed beats, often using the schwa sound.
4. Articles er, an, and the are reduced to and thu in common speech, and they often nearly vanish.
5. Grammatically, use a and for non-specific items, and the for specific items. And always remember that and follows the vowel sound, not just the letter.
6. Shadowing is the most direct practical technique for bypassing your conscious grammar rules and burning the necessary rhythms into your speech patterns through motor repetition.
And 7. Achieving true fluency requires you to accept and go with the flow of reduction so that your speech remains in sync with the language's natural pulse.
Okay, now for the homework assignments, straight from the source material, to implement these changes this week and make sure they stick.
First homework assignment. Identify 10 short sentences, maybe sentences you use often in meetings or conversations, and practice them out loud. Focus intensely on locating the content words and ruthlessly minimizing the function words.
And second homework. Dedicate 10 minutes specifically to the shadowing technique. Find that 5 to 10 second clip and try to mirror the speaker's stress and timing exactly. This is the hardest step, but it really delivers the biggest reward for fluency.
And third homework, and this is the most critical diagnostic tool. Record yourself speaking English. Listen back to your own recording. Be your own editor. Are you accidentally giving too much attention to is or are or to? Self-auditing is the fastest way to pinpoint where your rhythm is currently fighting the flow.
That honest feedback loop is just invaluable. I mean, it can be uncomfortable, but it immediately clarifies the specific patterns you need to override.
And before we sign off, remember to support the source of this incredible knowledge. Please subscribe to the Learning English with Meiji Talent channel, hit that notification bell, and leave a comment sharing whether you plan to try shadowing this week. We are all learning together.
That's right. And for our next session, what is coming up in episode 5 of the Meiji Talent content?
Well, the next dive promises to explain why fast English sounds like one continuous stream. We'll be moving from rhythm to connected speech. We'll be delving into linking, blending, and the final stages of reduction that truly unlock native speed, All those rapid-fire variations of gonna, wanna, and gotta.
That is the essential key to understanding truly fast colloquial English. If you master today's rhythm, you are absolutely ready for that next layer of complexity.
Absolutely. You are making phenomenal progress. And remember that rhythm is everything. Keep that stress time beat alive.
You are doing amazing work. Keep practicing that flow.
And I'll leave you with this final thought. If English rhythm is defined by constant reduction, by the systematic shrinking of the unimportant words to prioritize the important ones, how fundamentally does that realization change the way you read English text out loud? Does it transform the process from a sterile written exercise into a spoken art form, where you must actively treat the written page like a musical score, instructing you exactly what to diminish and what to emphasize?
A wonderful thought to mull over while you practice those booms and da-das. We look forward to connecting with you for the next exploration of your source material.
Fareway.